The sun is setting when I pull into the driveway, the sky painted in hues of orange and pink. I shut off the engine, take a deep breath, and glance at the rearview mirror where 2 cardboard boxes sit. They're full to the brim with letters, the latest batch of fan mail for my wife, Eleanor, the famous writer. The boxes are heavy with admiration, longing, and sometimes obsession. For years, she has been the object of adoration for countless fans, and these letters are a testament to her impact. I get out of the car and haul the boxes into the house. Eleanor is in her study, as usual, typing away on her antique typewriter. She's surrounded by towering shelves of books, and the smell of paper and ink is almost overwhelming. She glances up briefly as I enter, giving me a distracted smile. "More letters for you," I say, setting the boxes down by her desk. "Thank you, darling," she replies, her fingers never pausing on the keys. Eleanor is a creature of habit, her routines unbreakable. She rarely reads the fan mail, preferring to focus on her writing. But lately, I've noticed a change. She's been more engaged with the letters, occasionally taking one to read in the quiet hours of the night. I haven't thought much of it, attributing it to a renewed interest in her readers. Curiosity gnaws at me, but I push it aside. It's not my place to question her. After all, she's the genius, the star. I'm just the supportive husband, the one who keeps things running smoothly. One evening, a week after the latest delivery, I find Eleanor in the living room, a letter in her hand. Her eyes are shining with an emotion I can't quite place. She looks up, startled, as I enter. "Everything okay?" I ask, trying to sound casual. "Yes, fine," she replies quickly, folding the letter and tucking it into her pocket. "Just a particularly touching one, that's all." But there's something off in her tone, something that makes me uneasy. I decide to keep an eye on her, to pay more attention to the letters she seems so interested in. A few nights later, I get my chance. Eleanor is out at a literary event, and I'm alone in the house. I head to her study, my heart pounding. I feel a strange mixture of guilt and determination as I approach her closet. Opening the door, I find it meticulously organized, as always. But behind a row of neatly arranged shoes, I spot a stack of envelopes tied with a red ribbon. My hands tremble as I untie the ribbon and start reading. The letters are from a man named Daniel, a fan who has evidently become much more. They're full of passion, longing, and intimate details that make my stomach churn. It's clear that Eleanor has been not just corresponding with him, but meeting him. The words "last night was unforgettable, and I can't wait to see you again" burn into my mind. I drop the letters, fury coursing through me. How could she? After everything we've built together, everything I've sacrificed for her career, she's been betraying me with some fan. My initial shock turns into a cold, calculated resolve. If she thinks she can make a fool out of me, she's gravely mistaken. The next day, I act as if everything is normal. I kiss her goodbye in the morning and head to work, my mind racing with plans for revenge. I don't confront her immediately, instead, I gather information, biding my time. I track down Daniel, finding out where he lives and works. It's not difficult, given the details he's shared in his letters. I start following him, learning his routines, his habits. He's a young, handsome guy, clearly infatuated with my wife. The sight of him makes my blood boil. Finally, I put my plan into action. One evening, when Eleanor is out with her literary friends, I pay Daniel a visit. I knock on his door, and when he opens it, he looks surprised to see me. "Can I help you?" he asks, his voice wary. "You already have," I reply, forcing a smile. "Mind if I come in?" He steps aside, and I enter his apartment. It's small, cluttered with books and papers, much like Eleanor's study. We sit down, and I cut to the chase. "I know about you and my wife," I say, watching his reaction closely. His eyes widen, and he looks away, guilt written all over his face. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen. We just connected." "Save it," I snap. "I'm not here for an apology." I'm here to make sure you understand the consequences of your actions. I lean in, my voice dropping to a menacing whisper. You're going to end this immediately. No more letters, no more meetings. If you don't, I'll make sure everyone knows about your little affair. Your friends, your family, your employer. Do you understand? He nods, fear flashing in his eyes. I understand. Good, I say, standing up. And one more thing. If I ever see you near my wife again, you'll regret it. With that, I leave, slamming the door behind me. I feel a grim satisfaction, knowing that I've taken the first step in reclaiming my life. Eleanor might think she's won, but she has no idea what's coming. This is just the beginning. I return home feeling a mixture of triumph and dread. Confronting Daniel was the first step, but now I need to face Eleanor. The weight of the letters in the closet hangs over me like a dark cloud. I decide to wait for the right moment, hoping to catch her off guard and force the truth out of her. Days pass, and I watch Eleanor more closely than ever. She's become more secretive, taking her phone calls in the other room, her laughter echoing through the walls. It fuels my anger, but I keep my composure. I need her to think I'm oblivious, just the supportive husband she's always known. One evening, Eleanor hosts a small gathering of literary friends at our house. The living room buzzes with chatter and laughter, wine glasses clinking. Among the guests are Grace, Eleanor's editor, and her husband, Tom, a successful lawyer. They've known each other for years, and their presence adds a veneer of normalcy to the evening. I make my rounds, playing the gracious host, but my mind is elsewhere. I notice Eleanor slipping away to the study and decide to follow her. I wait a moment before entering, finding her with her back to me, staring at her phone. Eleanor, I say, startling her. She quickly hides the phone behind her back. Oh, James, she says, her voice a little too bright. I was just checking on something. I step closer, trying to keep my voice calm. Is everything okay? Yes, of course, she replies, but her eyes dart away from mine. Before I can press her further, Grace enters the room, a glass of wine in hand. There you are, Eleanor. We were just discussing your latest book. It's brilliant, as always. Eleanor smiles, the tension easing from her shoulders. Thank you, Grace. That means a lot. The conversation shifts back to books and publishing, and I'm left standing there, my opportunity lost. But I'm not giving up. I need a new plan. The next day, I decide to bring in some reinforcements. I call my best friend, Mark, a private investigator. He's seen me through thick and thin, and if anyone can help me uncover the truth, it's him. James, long time no see, Mark says when he arrives at our usual cafe. He's a rugged, no-nonsense kind of guy, and I know I can trust him. Mark, I need your help, I say, leaning in. It's Eleanor. I think she's having an affair. His eyebrows shoot up. Eleanor? I can't believe it. I found letters, I explain, my voice lowering. Love letters from a fan. And I confronted him. He admitted to the affair. Mark's expression turned serious. What do you need me to do? Follow her, I say. Find out who else she's seeing, where they meet, everything. Mark nods. Consider it done. I'll keep you posted. The days that follow are excruciating. I'm on edge, waiting for updates from Mark. Eleanor continues her routine, oblivious to my growing suspicion. Every time she leaves the house, I wonder if she's meeting Daniel or someone else. Finally, Mark calls. James, we need to meet. I've got something. We meet at the cafe again, and Mark hands me a folder. She's been seeing Daniel regularly, but there's more. She's also been meeting with a man named Michael. He's another fan, but this one's different. He's dangerous. My heart sinks as I look through the photos and notes. Michael is tall, with a menacing look in his eyes. The pictures show him and Eleanor at various locations, a park, a hotel, even our favorite restaurant. What do you mean, dangerous? I ask, feeling a chill run down my spine. Michael has a criminal record, Mark says grimly. Assault, harassment. His bad news, James. You need to be careful. My mind races. Eleanor is not just having an affair, she's involved with a man who could be a real threat. I know I need to confront her, but I have to be smart about it. I need a plan that ensures my safety and exposes her betrayal. That night, I lay in bed, unable to sleep. Eleanor is next to me, her breathing steady and peaceful. I stare at the ceiling, formulating my next move. If she thinks she can continue this charade, she's sorely mistaken. The next day, I decide to set a trap. I tell Eleanor I'll be out of town for a few days on a business trip, but in reality, I stay with Mark. We set up surveillance around the house, watching her every move. On the second night of my supposed trip, she invites Michael over. My blood boils as I watch them through the hidden cameras. They're in our living room, drinking wine and laughing, completely at ease. Mark and I wait until they're deeply engrossed in conversation before making our move. We burst into the house, catching them both off guard. Eleanor, what the hell is going on? I shout, my anger finally exploding. She jumps up, spilling her wine. James! What are you doing here? I should ask you the same thing, I say, glaring at Michael. Get out of my house. Michael stands, his eyes narrowing. You need to calm down, man. I will not calm down, I snap. Get out, or I'll call the police. Eleanor looks between us, panic in her eyes. Michael, please, just go. He hesitates but eventually leaves, casting one last menacing look in my direction. When he's gone, I turn to Eleanor. How long has this been going on? I demand. She breaks down, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, James. I never meant for it to go this far. Why? I ask, my voice cracking. Why would you do this to us? I don't know, she sobs. I was lonely and they made me feel special. But it was a mistake. Please, can we fix this? I look at her, the woman I've loved for so long, and I feel a mix of anger and sadness. I don't know, Eleanor. You've broken my trust. I need time to think. I leave her there, crying on the couch, and walk out of the house. My mind is in turmoil. I've taken the first step in confronting her, but the road ahead is uncertain. Can we repair our marriage, or is this the end? Only time will tell. For now, I need to clear my head and figure out what comes next. The battle is far from over. The next few days pass in a haze of anger and confusion. I stay with Mark, who tries to keep me grounded. Despite my efforts to distract myself, thoughts of Eleanor and her betrayal consume me. I replay our confrontation over and over, wondering how it all went so wrong. Mark's living room becomes my makeshift war room. We spread out photos, letters, and notes, piecing together the puzzle of Eleanor's infidelity. Each new discovery feels like a fresh wound, but I push through the pain, determined to understand why she did this. On the fourth night, Mark and I sit across from each other, a silence hanging heavy between us. What now? He asks, breaking the quiet. I don't know, I admit. I can't go back to her. Not yet. Mark nods, his face serious. You need a plan, James. You can't live in limbo forever. He's right, of course. I can't keep running from this. I need to confront Eleanor again, but this time, I need to have a clear strategy. I need answers, and I need to figure out what comes next for both of us. The following day, I return to the house. Eleanor is sitting at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee in her hands. She looks up as I enter, her eyes red and swollen from crying. James, she says, her voice trembling. I'm so sorry. I sit down across from her, keeping my emotions in check. I need you to explain, I say. From the beginning. She takes a deep breath, her hands shaking. It started with the letters. They were so different from the usual fan mail. Daniel and Michael, they wrote with such passion, such intensity. It felt intoxicating. "And that's why you betrayed me?" I ask, my voice hard. "No," she says, shaking her head. "I mean, yes, but it was more than that. I felt lost, James. You were always so supportive, but I felt like I was losing myself. They made me feel alive again." Her words sting, but I force myself to listen. "And Michael? Why him?" She looks away, shame coloring her cheeks. "He was persistent. He showed up at my book signings, sent me gifts. He made me feel wanted in a way I hadn't felt in years." "So you let him into our home," I say, my anger rising again. "You let him take my place." "I'm sorry," she whispers, tears streaming down her face. I didn't know how to stop it. I stand up, pacing the kitchen. "You could have talked to me. We could have worked through it together." She's silent, her head bowed. The weight of her betrayal hangs between us, an unspoken barrier that seems impossible to cross. Finally, I stop and face her. "I need time to think, Eleanor. I need to figure out if I can ever trust you again." She nods, her eyes filled with sorrow. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right." I leave the house, my mind racing. I need to clear my head, to find a way to process everything. I drive aimlessly for hours, the city lights blurring around me. Eventually, I find myself at the park where Eleanor and Michael had met. It's quiet, the only sound the rustling of leaves in the breeze. Sitting on a bench, I take a deep breath and try to sort through my thoughts. I love Eleanor, but her betrayal has shattered something deep inside me. Can I ever forgive her? Can we ever rebuild what we had? As I sit there, my phone buzzes. It's Mark. "Hey, I've got something you need to see. Can you come over?" "Sure," I say, feeling a flicker of curiosity. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. When I arrive at Mark's place, he leads me to his living room. On the table are several new photos, and my heart sinks as I recognize Michael in them. But this time, he's not with Eleanor. He's with another woman. "What is this?" I ask, confused. "Michael's been busy," Mark says grimly. "He's been seeing other women too. I did some digging, and it turns out he has a history of manipulating and using women. He's a predator, James." The revelation hits me like a punch to the gut. Eleanor wasn't his only victim. She was just one in a long line of women he's seduced and discarded. "What do we do?" I ask, my mind racing. "We expose him," Mark says firmly. "We gather evidence, and we make sure everyone knows what he's done. It's the only way to stop him." I nod, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Michael is a danger to more than just my marriage. He's a threat to every woman he targets. I may not be able to fix everything with Eleanor, but I can make sure Michael pays for what he's done. Over the next few days, Mark and I work tirelessly, gathering evidence against Michael. We interview his other victims, collect testimonies, and compile a dossier of his manipulations. It's painful work, but it's necessary. Finally, we have everything we need. We take our findings to the police, and they launch an investigation. It's a small victory, but it feels like a step in the right direction. One evening, as I'm leaving Mark's place, my phone rings. It's Eleanor. "James, can we talk?" I hesitate, but then I nod. "Okay. I'll be home soon." When I arrive, she's waiting for me in the living room, her face pale but determined. "I heard about Michael," she says. "What you and Mark have done, thank you." I sit down across from her, the distance between us feeling wider than ever. "It's not over yet," I say. "But it's a start." She nods, tears in her eyes. "James, I know I've hurt you. And I know it will take time, but I want to try and fix this. I want to rebuild our trust, our marriage. Can we try? I look at her, the woman I've loved for so long, and I feel a glimmer of hope. We can try, I say slowly. But it won't be easy. I know, she says, reaching for my hand. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes. As we sit there, holding hands, I realize that the road ahead will be long and difficult. But for the first time in weeks, I feel a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we can find a way to heal. The fight isn't over, and the wounds are still raw, but together, we might be able to find a way forward. And as long as we're both willing to try, there's a chance for redemption. A month passes, and Eleanor and I are slowly trying to mend our shattered relationship. We attend counseling sessions, lay our emotions bare, and attempt to rebuild trust. It's a painstaking process, but we both cling to the hope that we can find a way back to each other. One evening, as we sit in the living room, a knock on the door interrupts our quiet. I open it to find Mark standing there, his face grim. Mark? What's going on? I ask, letting him in. He looks at Eleanor and then back at me. We need to talk. All three of us. Eleanor and I exchange a worried glance, and we sit down, bracing ourselves for whatever Mark has to say. I've been digging deeper into Michael, Mark begins. And I found something you both need to know. He pulls out a folder and spreads its contents on the coffee table. There are photographs, documents, and a timeline that spans several years. Michael isn't just a predator, Mark says, his voice low. He's part of something much bigger. He's connected to a network of people who manipulate and exploit women, particularly those in vulnerable positions, like famous writers. Eleanor gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. What? How? Mark points to a series of emails and financial records. He's been paid by someone to target you, Eleanor. It's a systematic effort to break you down emotionally and financially. They wanted to control you. The room spins as the revelation sinks in. This isn't just about an affair, it's a calculated attack on Eleanor's career and our lives. But why? I manage to ask, my voice shaking. Mark's expression darkens. That's the surprising part. The person behind this is closer than you think. He hands me a photo of Grace, Eleanor's editor, standing with Michael. Grace has been orchestrating this. She's the one who hired Michael. Eleanor's face goes pale. No, that can't be. Grace is my friend. She's helped me so much. Or so you thought, Mark says. But look at the evidence. She's been siphoning money from your book deals, manipulating contracts, and using Michael to keep you distracted. The betrayal hits like a sledgehammer. Grace, the person we trusted, the one who guided Eleanor's career, has been undermining her all along. I can't believe this, Eleanor whispers, tears streaming down her face. How could she do this? I don't know, I say, wrapping my arm around her. But we're going to stop her. Mark nods. I've already contacted the authorities. They're investigating the financial records. But we need to confront Grace and get her to admit to everything. Eleanor takes a deep breath, her eyes hardening. Let's do it. The next morning, we arrange a meeting with Grace at a cafe. Mark stays nearby, ready to step in if things go south. Eleanor and I sit at a corner table, waiting for Grace to arrive. When she walks in, she's all smiles, completely unaware of what's about to happen. Eleanor, James, so good to see you both. Sit down, Grace, Eleanor says, her voice icy. Grace looks taken aback but complies. What's this about? We know what you've been doing, I say, sliding the folder across the table. We know about Michael, the money, everything. Grace's face blanches as she flips through the documents. I don't know what you're talking about. Stop lying, Eleanor snaps. You've been betraying me for years, manipulating my career for your own gain. Why, Grace? Why would you do this? Grace's hands tremble as she closes the folder. I did it for us, Eleanor. You don't understand. The publishing world is ruthless. I was trying to protect you, to ensure your success. By destroying me? Eleanor's voice cracks. By making me doubt myself and my marriage? That's not protection, that's cruelty. Tears fill Grace's eyes. I never wanted it to go this far. Michael was supposed to just keep you occupied, to make you depend on me more. But he went rogue. He started demanding more money, more control. I was trapped. Mark steps forward, having heard enough. Grace, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and harassment. Grace looks at him, then back at us, her eyes pleading. Please, Eleanor, forgive me. I was trying to help. Eleanor stands, her face resolute. You didn't help. You destroyed everything. I trusted you, and you betrayed me. I can never forgive that. As the police lead Grace away, Eleanor collapses into my arms, sobbing. How could she do this, James? How could someone I trusted so much betray me like that? I don't know, I say, holding her tightly. But we'll get through this. Together. The days that follow are a whirlwind of police statements, media coverage, and legal battles. Grace's betrayal shocks the literary world, and the fallout is immense. But through it all, Eleanor and I stand united. In the aftermath, Eleanor's career takes a hit, but she slowly starts to rebuild. She finds a new editor, one who genuinely supports her work without any hidden agendas. Our marriage, though scarred, begins to heal as we navigate this new reality together. One evening, as we sit on the porch, watching the sunset, Eleanor turns to me. James, thank you for standing by me through all of this. I don't know what I'd do without you. I smile, squeezing her hand. We're stronger together. And no matter what comes our way, we'll face it head on. As the sun dips below the horizon, I feel a sense of peace. The road ahead will be challenging, but we've weathered the worst of the storm. And with each other, we can overcome anything.